and play their contribution as well.
I call Sir William
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to say to, just in response to Mr. Alfred Ngaro earlier, and just, I thought maybe he was listening to Pesta Samloto Inga for too long, but the more he spoke, sir, the more I recognised that the arrogance oozes naturally from him. And I would just remind him, sir, of the old Māori saying that a kumara does not tell the vegetable patch how sweet he is, because eventually the kumara dies and stinks. Sir, look, the reality, sir, is I think it is good that the Minister is attempting now to articulate some of the concerns that we have raised, but there are more questions that need to be answered. I actually thought that the Minister was taking this bill quite seriously, but the members on the other side in the backbenches don't seem to, sir, when you consider the bullying tactics and the attacks, the personal attacks that they've heaped on us. Sir, if you consider the Section 4 on the purpose of this bill to provide, to encourage and help young persons to move to education, training and employment rather than to receiving financial, let's consider that. Let's consider exactly how they intend to do that and ask the Minister how many of the young people that she has identified are going to end up with a qualification at 17 years of age. How many of the young people that she is targeting will at age 18 end up in a job? And I ask the officials, sir, as to what happens when these young people reach the age of 18. The expectation of the officials was that they all get into jobs. At 18 years of age, these young people will get into jobs. Well, sir, if you look at the purpose of this, and if you were to take the word, if I were to take the word, sir, encourage, as a code for coercion and bullying people into jobs, my colleague Jacinda Ardern was more kind. She said, this is work testing, but with a specific focus on 16, 17-year-old, and the second focus being on sole parents. Sole parents going to be tested. Young people, 16, 17, are supposedly going to get into jobs. Sir, this bill fails to consider what jobs are available. It fails to consider the child care costs that sole parents have to consider, and it fails to consider, sir, a person with the skills, whether they have the skills necessary for the jobs that might be available. That's what this bill fails to address. So much for the work focus. All this bill will do, as articulated by the Minister and the members there, is to, and my words are, bully, coerce people into jobs and be sanctioned if they don't do what the government department is going to coerce them into. I want to remind the members on the other side of the House who sat through the Select Committee that the Salvation Army, who does work throughout this country, who is probably the most experienced in dealing with social issues throughout the country, 45 units, they've said that this bill, if this is an amendment to the Social Security Act 1964, that the aim of this bill is inconsistent with the main Social Security Act 1964. Let me read, for the benefit of the members on the other side, what the Social Security Act purpose is. 1, to enable the provision of financial and other support as appropriate to help people to support themselves and their dependents while not in paid employment. 2, to help people to find or retain paid employment. 3, to help people from whom work may not currently be appropriate because of sickness, injury, disability, or caring responsibilities to support themselves and their dependents. To enable, in certain circumstances, the provision of financial support to people to help alleviate hardship. To ensure that the financial support referred to in paragraphs A and B is provided to people taking account, one, what, Mr. Speaker,
Sir William
Chair, that where appropriate, they should use the resources available to them before seeking financial support under this Act, and any financial support that they are eligible for or already receive otherwise under this Act from publicly funded sources. So the Salvation Army submitted that this bill here is so far away, detached from the original purpose of the Social Security Act. This and does not deliver, sir, what the main Act, the Social Security Act, was set up to do. And as I reiterated the main purposes, none of that is in this amendment bill set up by this particular government. And sir, I want to reiterate some figures for the other side that my colleague David Clark has already said, but I think it is important, sir, because let's ask the Minister to table now the exact numbers of people that she intends to be able to support as a result of this bill. Between January 2009 and January 12, the number of people on the DPP rose by 13.2%, but between January 2009 and January this year, the number of people on the unemployment benefit rose by 82%. The government seems to be clamping down on people on the domestic purposes benefit. Mums in particular, who, I suppose this is, one can't help, sir, but consider that this government is just trying to show that they're acting, when in actual fact, they are not acting on the real issue, which is job provision, the creation of jobs, ensuring that there are jobs that young people can go into, ensuring that the opportunities of education and quality education are provided as what their bill originally states, sir. I want to say that in 2009, a paper from IRD found that among sole parents, 67% of those available for work and problems getting work that paid enough, 66% couldn't find work for enough hours for it to be worthwhile, and 64% didn't have the skills employers wanted. What is this government going to do about that? What does this bill indicate will deliver for those sole parents in terms of skill development, in terms of the jobs that these sole mums are looking for? No sole mum wants to be on the benefit. Every single sole mum that I have come across, sir, wants to be able to provide a high quality standard of living for their children, for their family. Childcare arrangements, sir, are getting harder with the high cost of private care and long waiting times, and all of that has happened under this particular government. And despite the Minister's adamant assertions that her future-focused reforms have been working, there are more people on the DPP now than there were prior to the reforms. It is expected, sir, that by 2017 we will have significantly increased the number of people on the unemployment benefit, on the series of benefits that this minister and this government seems to want to reduce. So it's a fact, sir, that when jobs and opportunities for work are available, it reduces the dependence on our welfare system. We saw that when Labour was in government between 1999 and 2008. There was a significant reduction in the number of people across the board on welfare benefits. Why? Because there were jobs and people had incomes in which they could earn a living and be able to hold their work up. But as I said, sir, so much for the aspiration that this government has talked about. The only thing that I know is that the people on the ground who are struggling to make ends meet, sir, who aspire for opportunities, who aspire for better living standards for their family, they are leaving our shores because of the lack of inactivity from this government to address the real issues. And the point I've made, sir, is that despite the focus on work, all that this bill does is work test, coerce and bully people into jobs that don't yet exist for the kind of skills that many of young people are seeking. And so if they were serious, sir, about this, they would address firstly the job availability, they would address childcare needs that sole parents have, they would address, sir, the skills.
And I'd like to take this call now to speak a little bit more to my SOP and